Hello everyone, I'm Brior, and welcome to Legends of Honor. Wait, don't click off this video just yet. The video is in fact about Goodgame Empire. But you see, Goodgame Empire and Legends of Honor are very similar games. I think that what happened to Legends of Honor might be able to tell us about the future of Empire. How is that? Well, you'll have to watch the video to find out. But first, let me give you a brief tour of Legends of Honor. This is the castle view. Already it looks very similar. In fact, it looks like Goodgame Empire, just with a different art style, and I suppose in many ways it is. Because when you have a closer look at some of the buildings here in my castle, you'll recognize more similarities. Here is a watchtower. Here's a stone production building, right next to a wood production building. Here we have the Hall of Heroes, the barracks, a storehouse, a house, a farmhouse, complete with windmill, a hospital, and in fact, some of the similarities continue. Most of these buildings work just like their counterparts in Goodgame Empire as well. Up here in the back corner though, we have a keep. This keep looks a lot more majestic than the one in Goodgame Empire, and in some ways I do actually prefer the art style of Legends of Honor. In fact, let me show you this by zooming in, and then I'll go to the back of my castle here. This is something I thought was really cool. See here the background? Well, if I move my screen back and forth, you'll see that it's composed of layers. The foreground here, the trees, the rocks, and the keep move quickly across the screen, but the layers in the background move more slowly. This creates the illusion of distance. I just thought that was really cool. Which I suppose makes it all the more sad about what happened to this game. And I'll tell you what happened in just a moment. But let's have a peek first at the world map. This actually looks and works somewhat differently from Goodgame Empire. And apparently it doesn't want to load. I'll give it just a moment. And I'll enter my castle and come back, I suppose. I want to keep all of the bugs and glitches and crashes as part of this video, and I'll explain why in just a moment. Close out of that. Alright, so let's try that again. Here is the world map. It looks a little bit differently from the one in Goodgame Empire. My castle is of course in the center, and standing on top of my castle is a hero. I can click on him and assign units to him, so I'll go ahead and do that. I've never had to put much effort into this screen. I just hit the move all button and then I close out of it. Let's say that I want to attack a robber baron castle. In this game, they're called marauders. So I'll click on this one here. I'll click on the attack button. I'll see that my forces, the green, are stronger than his forces, the red. So I'll go ahead and hit raid. When I do that, my army has to march out to the target. One thing that's different about Legends of Honor is you can actually station your army on the world map without having to support one of your friendly players or attack a target. You can just move them and they'll stay right here, for example. But this time I've elected to launch an attack at this marauder. There will be a battle animation. Then I can click on these. It's a little bit obnoxious to have to click on your loot in order to get it, but there you go. Obviously, the developers of this game have put a great deal of effort into some of these animations. Kind of fascinating. Goodgame Empire doesn't really do that. Now my hero has returned to my castle with loot in store. You might have seen these numbers here change. I also liked the fact that you can always see the amount of food, stone, and wood in your castle, even when you're visiting the world map. Let's take, I suppose, a look at the rankings. This is a massively multiplayer game, just like Goodgame Empire. And I'll go up to the top of the rankings, level 70, because that's the maximum level in this game. And let me give you a look at somebody's castle. You can also see that there are different kingdoms as well. That's another similarity this game has to Goodgame Empire. In fact, if I didn't know any better, I would say that this game was a copycat. But I do know better, so I won't. Alright, here's the castle of somebody who clearly has been playing this game a lot more seriously. And I suppose with that, it's time I tell you what happened. And to do that, I'm going to hit the escape key, and you can see that I'm playing this game in Firefox. If I go over to Chrome, though, here's the forum. If you haven't figured it out already, Legends of Honor was developed by Goodgame Studios. When I first took a peek at Legends of Honor, I was surprised that it was so similar to Goodgame Empire. After all, wouldn't it compete for essentially the same player base? Why have two directly competing products? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But first, this game did encounter some difficulties, so let me provide you with a statement from the developers, Goodgame Studios, back in 2016.
With Legends of Honor, the idea was to create a new type of strategy game with an incredibly fast pace. The game has been this way since release, and quite a few of you enjoyed the overall speed. This, however, is also where the first issue was identified. The super-fast game environment created a situation where active players were able to launch multiple attacks with no worries about running out of units. This means it was next to impossible to defend for any amount of time, and players were resorting to disagreeable tactics or simply letting their account burn itself into ruins in order to quit. This is echoed by feedback we received from some players that left the game, who said being even a little competitive simply required too much time and effort. Our data also showed that a very high percentage of players were logging back into the game after 12 hours with empty, burning castles. This took away a lot of the fun.
Therefore, in 2016, Goodgame Studios decided to change some of the core mechanics to this game. From that same post that I was reading before,
on Monday, an update was rolled out that significantly increased the time needed to recruit and heal units, decreased the amount of honor and fear daily decay,
I assume that works like honor and glory in Goodgame Empire,
and increased tile bonuses from 15 to 50%. The response from the communities has been overwhelmingly against these changes, with some considering leaving the game altogether. While we understand these players' positions, the decision has been made to move forward in this new direction.
The player base was not happy at all with these new changes, and as I think we can see from that statement that I read, these new changes kind of undermined the principal game philosophy, the design philosophy behind Legends of Honor. A few months later, in September of 2016, this was posted to the forums, an important announcement regarding Legends of Honor Web.
Hello, community. As we are sure many of you are aware, Goodgame Studios has recently undergone a sizable restructuring. This has had an effect on many projects, and unfortunately the browser version of Legends of Honor is among them. Moving forward, we will no longer be developing the web version of Legends of Honor, and will instead focus completely on the mobile version of the game. Feel free to discuss here.
And discuss players did. As I continue to talk about Legends of Honor, I will put some of the players' responses up on the screen. But the bottom line is that Goodgame Studios abandoned Legends of Honor back in 2016, and since then there have not been any further updates for this game. From what I can tell, it used to be the case that there were events running in this game, but I don't see any at the moment, so I don't believe there are any events anymore. Obviously, the game is still available to play because I'm playing it right now. In fact, I will leave a link to this game in the description box down below. You can check it out if you want, but I don't recommend that you invest any of your time and certainly none of your money into this game because it's unsupported, it's been abandoned, and it could disappear at any moment. There are also lots of unfixed bugs. I think we've encountered some of them already in this video, but when I was testing out earlier, the game repeatedly crashed, and if you think that Goodgame Empire is laggy, this game takes it to a whole new level. I don't quite know why that is. Maybe Goodgame Studios hasn't conducted any server improvement since they stopped releasing new features for the game. Maybe the more detailed art style gives the servers a hard time. But the game loads very slowly, sometimes not at all, and I frequently had to reload it. I reached out to a few players in the game. I didn't get very many responses, but here is what I asked them. Here's the message I sent. Hello, I play Empire, another game developed by Goodgame Studios. I'm looking into Legends of Honor because it's abandoned and might be able to tell me about the future of Empire. Since you play this game, I wanted to ask your opinion of Goodgame Studios. What did they do wrong? What has it been like to play this game since updates stopped? Do you ever spend money? And I didn't get a whole lot of responses. In fact, I only got one that I thought was worth sharing. Here it is.
I used to spend money, but not since they quit fixing it. The glitches are too many to count, and they do nothing to make sure longtime players like myself are happy. Even if it means repairing or giving up something, it goes a long ways when they aren't doing squat about the game state, and it keeps on crashing. Right now the players have gotten too big, and for somebody to start when there are so many bullies, and real-life pansies that think they are something when they can burn people over and over, new players don't stand a chance.
So obviously that is a condemnation of this game from somebody who has invested quite a great deal of time in it. In fact, let's go take a look at his castle as well. Unfortunately, I do have bad news for players of Legends of Honor. Goodgame Studios, in their recent interview, confirmed that Adobe Flash will be going away in late 2020.
The so-called flexit, so the exit from Flash, is necessary at all. In 2020, Flash will be gone, and there will be just HTML5, at least for Empire, left as technology to go for.
Legends of Honor continues to be an Adobe Flash game. You'll remember that Goodgame Studios converted Goodgame Empire to HTML5. The process was long, and I have to assume it took a lot of resources and was very expensive for the developer. Legends of Honor is almost certainly not going to be converted to HTML5. That means when browsers like Google Chrome and Firefox stop supporting Adobe Flash, I think that Legends of Honor will be completely gone. The player base will be reduced to the bare minimum, certainly not enough to sustain a game like this. Of course, keeping the servers going, even if you're not making new content, still requires a lot of money. And I think that Legends of Honor will be discontinued, and everybody's progress, all of the money that they've spent on the premium currency in this game, which happens to be gems, that will go away. Again, given that this game is so similar to Goodgame Empire, given that I like the art style, given that it's clear that some players once upon a time had fun here, it's really sad what's happened to this game. You can just look through alliance chats. I joined a few alliances, and you'll see that it's not particularly active, although there are a few players still around. Given that we know the player base for Goodgame Empire has been shrinking over the years, what do you think will happen to Goodgame Empire? Do you think it'll be something like what's happened here?
Pretty straightforward. Empire is one of our most important games. It has a very high priority, totally. And on top of that, all games have dedicated game projects. So whatever we do in Empire has no influence on the other game. So each game has its priority, each game is important to us, but especially Empire is something we're really proud of. We are proud of the great players we have, proud of the features we're adding, and looking forward to make new cool content on the best level possible. Well, Empire is already 8 years old, and that's quite a long lifespan already for browser game. We are happy and proud that the game is already there for that long time. What we do, we keep working on getting content, on high quality content to ensure the players who are already there have a lot of fun, can enjoy the game, but also we are still ongoingly driving new players into the game. There are different ways of marketing to do that, and also working with partners in order to get new players into it. And from our point of view, the game is really built and planned to run for a lot of more years.
Although Goodgame Studios has assured us that Goodgame Empire continues to be its most important project, what happened to Legends of Honor shows us what the developer is willing to do to its less successful games. And given that the player base of Goodgame Empire continues to shrink, one has to wonder whether Goodgame Empire will one day share a similar fate. And of course, that's the most that I can do in this video, that is, speculate, but I suppose there are a few features in Goodgame Empire that are promising. First, Goodgame Studios did put in the manpower, the time, and the resources to convert Goodgame Empire into HTML5. Clearly, that means they felt it was worth it. There aren't any signs that HTML5 is going anywhere anytime soon, so Goodgame Empire should continue to be playable for many years into the future, even if at some point development of new content stops. Another feature in Goodgame Empire that could be promising is the monthly subscription feature, because if Goodgame Studios can count on a certain amount of money being made by the game every month, I think they'll be more stable and therefore more likely to keep developing content for the game. However, we don't know what percentage of players, or what number of players overall, are paying a monthly subscription to Goodgame Empire. The closest thing we have to that is how many players are purchasing an Alliance subscription, but you can only know that for your own Alliance. In the case of my Alliance, I can tell you that the number of players who are paying $5 a month to unlock the Alliance benefits has decreased over the course of the past few months. But it's not all good news. Goodgame Studios has continued to support an Adobe Flash version of the game. I know that some players in my audience really appreciate that. However, here's my thoughts. Developing a Flash version of the game at the same time must require additional resources and time. In fact, Goodgame Studios confirmed that when I interviewed them.
Yeah, well, first of all, we have to explain that it's very hard to keep those versions up. You can imagine we are building game versions on Flash, on HTML5, have to test both of them, not just for new features, also existing content, also change something. So there's a lot of effort for all the quality teams, for development teams to check on that, and also for the whole production, because we have really to take care that those versions are running at the same time. Let's say as more players playing HTML5, as sooner we can shift to we constantly work on HTML5 to improve it here and there.
Therefore, we know that because Goodgame Studios has continued to support Adobe Flash, they haven't been able to develop as many new features for the game. This suggests to me that Goodgame Studios is concerned about the number of players they will lose when Flash goes away, and so they're more focused on sustaining their current player base, and they don't expect to bring in as many new players. If they expected the game to keep going for many more years, I think they'd ditch Flash and put all of their weight into HTML5 and into recruiting new players for the future. The number of players who would be lost in the transition from Flash to HTML5 would be comparatively smaller. There are, of course, some players who are running off of really old equipment. Maybe they're not technically inclined, and they'll stop playing the game when Adobe Flash stops being supported. That's just a fact. But the fact that Goodgame Studios is nervous about this suggests to me that they're really concerned about holding on to their current player base, even if some of the new features they've added recently seem to be driving more players away. And here's something else that I found rather alarming. In my interview with Goodgame Studios, I asked the developers what they plan to do to rebalance PvP in the game, and here's the response I got.
Yeah, well, our first step for this was basically the Outer Realms. We tried to create a new environment where PvP is in a new state, or in a, for most people, older state in that regard. And we tried to go more into that direction because basically of this power gap that you asked for earlier, it's hard to keep up a viable PvP on the normal server. And we also have something else coming up, which is on the horizon that will also be related to PvP that you can look forward to.
That was pretty much a tacit admission that PvP in the regular game is broken right now and the developers don't know how to fix it. Maybe they're not even trying. Instead, they've set up events like the Outer Realms. The idea is that players who want to PvP can go do that there. But again, PvP on the regular world map, it's in an abysmal state, and it's only getting worse. The developers are just now introducing new, premium, relic, food production, and storage build items. Already, we have players above 3 million might, storing at least 15,000 defenders per castle and feeding them easily. With these new food updates, it will become even easier for players to defend themselves. It will become even more difficult to send off successful attacks. So I don't know. This video was supposed to end on an uplifting note, but I don't think it has. Maybe you have some thoughts about this and would like to leave them in the comments below. I'll be sure to read them, and hopefully they're uplifting, but I don't know that they will be. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I've been Brior. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.